Poe, and this is
Alice Morgan. Hi.
And welcome to the Robert O. Anderson Sustainable Arctic Award Dinner. First, we want to start out by thanking our sponsors. Everybody has a nice brochure, and if you look on the last page of the brochure, you'll see all our valuable sponsors, and we thank them very much for We thank everybody for sponsoring us, and we'd particularly like to recognize ASRC, who's sponsoring this dinner, BT, ConocoPhillips, Shell Alaska, and ExxonMobil, Rise Alaska, and Kupiaka Corporation. The others are listed on the last page. We'd also like to thank Mayor Sullivan, who I believe was at the VIP reception, and also the Governor's Chief of Staff, Larry Baker. I don't know if Larry were here. And of course, this is Alaska, and everybody's really important, so if you feel him, Senator Beckich is here, but we will introduce him in a minute. But this is Alaska, everybody's very important, so if you feel you should stand up, and I'll give you time.
Thank you, Allison. So, I just want to very briefly describe what's going on this evening. So, we're very glad at the Institute to be hosting the Robert O. Anderson Sustainable Arctic Award Dinner and having this opportunity to recognize the lifetime service of Jacob Adams. At the same time, we're hosting this event on the day of Governor Nichols' birthday. So August 18th was Governor Nichols' birthday. And so that is one of the recurring themes that we find at the Institute is recognizing his legacy and honoring him in any way we can. At the same time, we hope to inform you this evening of the work that the Institute is doing. And I'll talk in just a second about the projects that are set up around the room. We want to recognize Robert O. Anderson as a great expression, I think, of Governor Nichols' vision. We'll talk more about the legacy that Robert O. has left for the state, but building the first successful well in the North Slope was a big deal for us, and I know that Governor Nichols was very excited about that process. So we'll talk more about that. And then interweaving the final component, the awardee, and really taking this chance to recognize ASRC, the North Slope, and that region for its approach to responsible development. And Jacob certainly a valuable expression of that. So that's what we're doing this evening. In terms of the projects that you see around the room, many of you that we'll be doing tonight. And we'll, throughout this first portion of the program, we'll talk a little bit more about what those projects are. If you didn't get a chance to give during a cocktail hour, we'll have a brief interlude in the middle to allow you to do that. I should also mention that there's a second prize for every $50 that you give to the project. You are entered into a raffle for a piece of artwork associated with that prize. We'll be drawing those at the end of the night. If you give to all 5 projects, you get a stamp on each one on your program. You receive a commemorative class from Governor Nichols' second term as governor. I think we thank our evening sponsors already, Ira and Dale, and everyone has done that, but I'd especially like to thank ASRC for hosting tonight's dinner. It's really been incredible to see the amount of support that you've shown both to Jake and to the Institute in making this happen. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the ASRC. Before I leave the stage, and my 2 minutes was up a long time ago. Before I leave the stage, I would just like to pay a quick tribute to the Institute's founder. It's never an easy thing for an organization to lose someone who had Governor Nichols' presence, his strength, and his vision. And it's his vision and his words, which to a large extent we respond to today. And I imagine him in the crowd giving the orders as we speak, or at least when we're done, I certainly get orders. But I wanted to recognize and pay tribute to Governor Walter J. Hickel. To recognize his continued impact on the Institute, the state, and the Arctic, we have drafted a proclamation naming today the Governor Walter J. Hickel Day of the Arctic. And I hope that in the coming years we can work to to make this an official day for Alaskans to remind themselves that the day of the Arctic has come.
You and I are about the same age, so I can't say that you were an elder or a leader or whatever, but you were an absolute force in Alaska. And my growing up in Nome, you growing up in Barrow, I always recognized your impact and your absolute devotion to Alaska, and I thank you for that. That was great. Now we're coming on a fun part of this evening. We are especially privileged this evening to have one of Jacob's lifelong friends and peer to make the formal introduction of this award, Mr. Oliver Leavitt of Barrow. Oliver is the former chairman of the ASRC and current board member. He is a well-respected whaling captain. He served on numerous boards and commissions, including AFN, the U.S. Arctic Research Council, and many others. He's a political leader of Northwest Alaska and Arctic Alaska, a major community activist. And I just want to share a little insight to Oliver with you. For many, many years, we have championed trying to get the Arctic slope, the ANMAR open for drilling, for exploration drilling. And we've had delegations and delegations and delegations of people over the years going to Washington, D.C. to try to get ANMAR passed. In 1995, we were extremely successful in that we got a vote through the House and through the Senate, and then President Bill Clinton vetoed the bill that went through both bodies. But every time I went to Washington, D.C. to lobby for ANMAR, I kept my fingers crossed. I hoped that Oliver was on my lobbying team because he was an incredible asset on the lobbying team. And Oliver and I have worked together for many, many years for development on the North Slope. And there could be no person more appropriate tonight to introduce Jacob and talk about Jacob than Oliver Leavitt. Please welcome Oliver.
I was going to bring up my notes from hell. I've known him all his life. My mother always said, I'm older than his mother. My mother and his mother are sisters. So she always told me I'm smarter than Jake's mother. 3 years smarter than Jake. We've had a long life together, inseparable since we were kids. Of course, I always chose to do what I wanted to do because I was older, because I was smarter. We ran dogs. We went out and got ice because we had no running water. We looked for wood when there's no forest. When it's 40 below, it's about 20 below in the house when there's no wood. So when we had to go to school, God almighty, you ever been in that 20 below house? It is tough. On his first day of school, he was so excited. I'd already been in school 3 years now. On his first day of school, he wanted so bad to go to school to go and learn. They always said the white man away so he could learn and beat him in their own game. He came to my house at 6 in the morning. We gotta get to school. It's only 6 o'clock, so we got it. Lay down next to me, we'll get up. When my mother woke us up, we were already 5 minutes late. So his first day of school, he was late. He never forgave me for that. When the Land Claims Act was passed, we had done many, many things as a neighborhood association. Along with our leaders, back then, we were doing everything we said. We were regarded as junior execs, and we couldn't argue with them. We couldn't make prominent statements like they could, because they were older. There was a cultural clash. See, the Eskimo were up. Jake and I knew we had to respect them an awful lot. But we didn't think some of their ideas were very good. Because one day, Land Claims Act passed, and we're now a corporation. And just like everybody else, first thing we did is we went to town, to Hankey's, brought us up a briefcase. So we looked like a businessman. You open it up, you find dry meat, no papers of any type or documents, just the essential needs. But we were in business. We were business leaders now, so we got to act like one, so we went out and bought a briefcase. And then we talked to our fellow board members, because we couldn't talk. We were now a corporation. Jake got to speak. His father-in-law was the first vice president of Army Slope. When his finger, shut up. You young kids, you know it. And these guys were mean men. I mean, grew up in Rarity. And the clash was, we had to keep quiet. We got to somehow break through to our own elders to be able to speak as corporate officers. We were officers. So Jake said, let's devise a kangaroo court. So we talked to them, talked them into having a kangaroo court for 3 days. What's the problem we have with our culture, as much as we believed in it, and what they believed in, and what it is to be incorporated under state laws as a corporation. It took us 3 days. Nobody went out. Only ones that ever came in and out were the cleaners in the hotel, the maids, and people that served us food. We would not let anybody out. After that, we embarked on a great deal. We always preached about how we're going to get the two cultures and put them together. We'll take the good with the bad, weed out the bad. What's is strong in our culture and strong in theirs, in the leadership programs. And to sell. We were out to sell a culture and to interweave them. We did our corporate planning together. We always went out to our fish camp. We lived intensely with our little kids. And our boardroom was the 44 million acres, 56.5 million acres of tundra, the blue sky, and an old NPR 8 barrel that was rusted out, so that's what our seat was. And Jake and I welcomed it because we were trying to put a corporation together. I mean, God, The first day, remember that, Jake, when we got our first $50,000 contract? God, we celebrated all night. We thought that was a lot of fun. But we preached it to the villages, to our board, to everybody on Zoom that would listen to us. I mean, we couldn't just say, let's get into this business and go on into it. It was the teaching of the culture first to buy into it. And Jake and I would go to the villages. I bet we have knocked on every door, many times over. On the North Slope in every village. We incorporated the North Slope Borough and the Arctic Slope Regional Corporation together in the same day. Same day. Other regions laughed at us. And then when we got the borough and we started putting out our tax roll, they all wanted to know, how did you guys do it? Well, consultant number one, I don't remember. We worked because we worked so hard with no days off. And Jake always picked me into working more. Just one more time, Alma is a cousin, very close. Just one more time, go back to Washington. We had a great run. The first day we had a hearing, remember the oil companies sued us. They want a bunch of Eskimos in the north that live in third world conditions. They would attack us out of existence. Well, we were so few and small, and we had our Board of Equalization meeting. I was the president of the assembly. I appointed the North Slope Borough Assembly as a Board of Equalization the first year, so we could clear these guys up. They didn't like us too well. So when we had them picked up at the airport, they came in with their alligator shoes, their stick slacks and suits on. They're Texas lawyers and San Francisco lawyers. We told the guys, don't pick them up in trucks. Pick them up on the snow machine and take them along with you. They had no overcoats. And I said, hey, I don't have a gavel. Well, you always use your knuckles. He said, wait a minute, I got something for you. So he reached in and pulled out a billy club. He was the mayor of the borough of the city of Barrow. She had access to any of the stuff that his cops had. And he used to ward away dogs, loose dogs. He said, use this. I looked at it, is the mace loaded? Don't tell him it's not loaded. I'm not going to want you to come up and testify. And Jake leaned over and said, speak directly into the mic. And every time I said something, Jake would add on. And there were a plane load of oil people and their lawyers. You could hear a pin drop. She kept adding little things on them. And they took us here to the Supreme Court. We finally won. It took us a few years, but we did okay. Woo! We had to preach and preach our lives up in the communities, convincing them of the things that we were trying to do. He had the foresight to know what was about to happen and what was going to happen. And then the waiting issue came around. I want you to find a way. And so I called up Ann Stevens. Didn't really know the old traditional way.
Yes.
I said, Jesus, that's a great idea. You better do it every year now. We got to get word to Ted Stevens we're going to need help. And so we always work things out. But I was always the one that was volunteered to make sure they worked. So when it came time, Ted Stevens was there. I remember Evan calling us. We were both back in Washington, D.C., and I don't care which one of you it is, but one of you guys got to come back and put this thing together about the Alaska Small Mining Commission. God knows she wanted me up here, now she wants me out. Anyway, we gave him work. Jake was the first chairman. He was a great community leader. But I'm still 3 years his senior and 3 years smarter than he is. A great guy, great dedicated guy. You know, his wife Lucille, he's got 17 grandchildren. I'd love for him to be my grandpa. He's always running to the store because somebody forgot something on the list. On we've had a great, great life together. Keep the ship afloat. There's no black power now. It's Eskimo power.
Well, Jacob might be a man of few words, but certainly that's not Oliver. Thank you very much, Oliver, for sharing that insight. And Jacob, if you would please come forward. Watch all the liars and everything that are here. Jacob Adams, on behalf of the Board of Directors, the staff, and the membership of the Alaska Institute of the North, it is truly a well-deserved honor tonight that we award you the Robert O. Anderson Award of Achievement, Development, Responsible Development in the Arctic. Thank you very much. The mic is yours.
Thank you. I kind of feel like I've survived in the Arctic for many thousands of years. You know, the ones that taught us how to survive in the Arctic how to sustain ourselves in the Arctic. And it's good to be among friends that believe that we can successfully develop our resources in the state of Alaska. I believe that. Yeah. I am also humbled by the fact that this award is descended to me. Like I said, it should go to our elders who deserve that honor of teaching generations of Arctic survivors and users of Arctic resources. Although when I think back, I sometimes think that we over-harvested the driftwood looking to keep our houses warm. I know Oliver and I spend a lot of time looking for driftwood under the snow or over the next horizon. Those were fun. Our culture has long survived because they knew how to sustain themselves and sustain the resources they had available to them in the Arctic. Same with our natural resources. We should be looking forward to find ways to develop them safely for the benefit of the people. On the North Slope, that has been one of the paramount ideals that have always carried that if somebody is coming in to develop our resources, we should be active and be active participants and letting them know that we also have other resources that we want to protect. We can coexist. See, that's a real thing that's happening down in the Arctic. And sometimes feel that we all should work together along with our political leaders in the state of Alaska to find ways to safely develop the type of resources that Alaska has, like oil and gas, mineral, coal, forest. Those are the things that have kept Alaska going for many years before the discovery of oil. Remember that our people were basically living in third world conditions throughout rural Alaska. And thanks to the discovery of oil, we now have conveniences that we can look forward to going to sleep by turning lights off. Back in those days, we didn't have any lights to turn on. We also have roads. We also have new schools in our community. We also have clinics. We also have power plants. Some things that were taken for granted in many other parts of the country was all brought to Alaska and rural Alaska by the discovery of oil on the North Slope. We now look forward to the next phase of developing our resources. We have to find ways to keep the pipeline full. If we think that the oil is going to last forever without bringing on new oil, I think we're just burying ourselves in the sand. So let's work together, find ways to develop that resource for the benefit of all Alaskans. One thing I'd like to say to you is that in the early days, during the implementation of the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act, some of my best times were spending time with our elders, going from village to village, talking, listening to them about land uses, the type of resources that were available around their communities. Those were very fascinating stories about how they were able to sustain themselves without much of anything else. I know one of my uncles is here, Uncle Wesley, and he was younger. He spent a lot of time teaching us about ice conditions and what to watch out for, how the whales behave. Sometimes he's been rough on us, but he insisted that we learn the ways. Sometimes he used to wake us up after playing pinochle. Sometimes we have to run back from the edge of the ice because the ice pack is coming in. So we run back, set up camp somewhere, and then we start playing pinochle. And sometimes you go to sleep thinking the next morning the ice is opened up again. When that happens, he says, "Hey, you guys, get up. Get up. I bought some coffee with you." "No, you're going to have coffee out there when we get out to the edge of the ice. This is not the way we hunt whales. We've got to be ready all the time." But he was a great teacher along with some of my other uncles that has been taking time to teach us what they have learned during their lifetime, what they know about ice conditions, about the weather. A lot of that has been passed from traditions that our forefathers learned. They passed it on to Leslie, they passed it on to Oliver and I. Those are the type of things that keep our community sustained. By knowing what our culture stands for, we can survive anything that comes by our way. So I am honored to be a recipient of this award. I look forward to continuing to work with our well-interested leaders, with our political leaders in the state, to devote more of our resources that will benefit all of Alaska. Clear? Thank you very much. And thank you for the introduction, Dr. Leavitt.